You know, it's this kind of thing that really brings out the pyromaniac in me. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Woodcraft. My name is Joe. Thank you very much for being here today. It's great to see you. A couple weeks ago, some of you may remember, we talked about a product from Ingalls Creek Wildneress Outfitters. Actually, it's probably been pretty close to a month now. That product was called the Tinder Torch. The short of it was, or is, it's basically a natural fire starter, a man-made but yet natural. It's paraffin-infused western cedar, I believe. Well, Ingalls Creek has come out with a different product. It's basically a step above the Tinder Torch. It is what they call their Fierce Fire. Today I want to take a look at that. Now, I have seen some other videos done on this by Dino, great channel, check him out. I have also seen some testing done by Ingalls Creek themselves on YouTube, and I have to say this stuff appears to be pretty impressive. But not only that, the testing that I have done myself pretty much mirrors their results. One thing I want to cover today is I want to cover the burn time. One thing that Ingalls Creek has really focused on as far as this goes is if you chunk it up and use it kind of like a fuel tab in a stove or something like that, they have been doing some time trials. So while I yak at you and show you different ways that this can be used, let me go ahead and get this started burning so we can do a time trial throughout the entirety of this video. The Fierce Fire is a little bit different than the Tinder Torch. The Tinder Torch came 10 to a package for $5, I believe, something like that. The Fierce Fire comes different. It's 10 bucks for 15 ounces. There's a couple different reasons for that. There's a lot more work and product that goes into making this, but also the 15 ounces itself is to kind of help keep shipping as affordable as it can be. Start. Where'd that go? There we go. All right, we were started. Alrighties, gang. Well, now that we have our time trial running, let's go ahead and talk about the differences between the Tinder Torch and the Fierce Fire here. What is the intended difference between the two? Well, it is my understanding from talking with the guys at Ingalls Creek that the Tinder Torch is basically intended to get a fire started. It is to be the primer or the tinder to get a fire started using other resource materials around you. Debris off the forest floor, downfall, stuff like that. Whereas this, while it will work for that, and as you saw, it does light readily just as easily as the Tinder Torch does. The intended purpose behind this is to be more of a direct substitute for Fatwood, but also to double with that, it is also to be more of a fuel source for a fire. As you can see with our time trial here, we're running it pretty much like a fuel tab. It's chunked up into a piece about the size of the upper knuckle of my thumb. So its intended purpose is to be more so of a direct fuel source as opposed to just a source of tinder to get your fire started. But we are at 16 minutes. Aside from flipping it over on its side and then over on its side again, I have not maintained that at all. So with all that being said, the main difference between the Tinder Torch and the Fierce Fire is simply burn time. It does smell a bit different. It does work up a little bit different as far as processing goes, but it still processes extremely easy, lights extremely easy, and it does come with a longer burn time than the Tinder Torch itself. How do I recommend using it? Essentially like I just described. Throw one stick of each in your pack and you're good to go as far as pretty much any need for fire. Use the Tinder Torch if you need to get just forest debris or whatnot, a regular fire going, or if you're in more of an intense situation, so to speak, or if you're just wanting to use it as a fuel tab in your Firebox Nano or your Emberlit stove or something like that, it would work perfectly for that as well. With that in mind, there is a bit of a price difference there. The Tinder Torch ran about 50 cents per stick. It was $5 for 10 sticks and then the shipping and handling on top of that. Whereas the Fierce Fire, they're running it a little bit different. They're running $10 for 15 ounces. Now, I've counted the 2 bags that I personally have in my possession, and when I first started this journey anyway, so to speak, they're not full anymore, but I had 8 in one and 9 in the other. They're doing it by weight for a couple different reasons. Because the wood isn't uniformly cut, they're running it by weight just to keep the product on an even playing ground, so to speak, from a marketing standpoint, but also they're keeping it at 15 ounces because if they went to 1 pound, it would increase the cost of shipping. So they're trying to kind of cut costs for themselves and for the customer as well. All right, guys, we just went out about 30 seconds ago, 45 seconds ago, something like that. I was running another test and I happened to look over and saw it peter out. So we're gonna call it at 19 minutes. Just go ahead and round down. There is also a manufacturing difference between the Tinder Torch and the Fierce Fire. I can't get into all of it because they didn't tell me all of it, but at its core, it is basically a paraffin cedar oil mix that is infused in the wood to give it its combustive nature, but that comes with a pretty interesting side effect that you didn't get with the Tinder Torch. You'd have to pretty much be here to experience it, but I'll try to illustrate. When you're processing down the Fierce Fire, it leaves a slightly oily residue on your blade. You're also maintaining your blade. You're adding a layer of waterproofness or whatnot to your blade as you're processing your fire, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, with all that being said, folks, if you're in the market for a different type of fire starter, something that could be used for both recreational and, you know, those mythical survival situations, if you need something reliable, I do recommend this stuff. It is an excellent product. It is fairly economical, and it's coming from a small family-run USA business, so it's pretty much a win-win-win in my opinion there. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button for me. I would appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video and you're not a subscriber yet, I invite you to become so by making use of the subscribe button right down here. And as always, folks, leave me a comment. Let's talk about this and anything else you want to talk about. Thank you very much for being here today, and I will see you next time. Hope you guys have a great day.